Welcome to the Brand Success Podcast, where you'll hear amazing stories from people like you who overcame their fears, frustrations, and obstacles on their way to brand success. Join us to be inspired by how they persevered, pivoted, and powered on to success. Not easy, but they did it, and so can you.
So welcome, my friends. So glad that you're here. I'm Kay Wagner with North Star Marketing. As you can see, I have someone with me today who is in a very warm climate in the middle of winter. And I'm very envious of her. Randi Lee, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here. Randi has a business mindset coaching business, and she has some really great stories to tell us. Some that are like woohoo, and some that are wah wah. So take it away, Randi.
Thank you so much for having me. So I am Randi Lee, and my brand is Randi Lee Business Mindset Coaching, and I'm also the host of the Uplifting Podcast. So I started my business back in April of 2018, and at the time when I started my business, I was a self-love coach, and I was helping women to heal their relationships with their bodies. And what I discovered at that time was when women started to feel a lot more confident about themselves, when they were able to really feel at home in their bodies, they wanted to actually start sharing that with other people and making that impact on others. And they really started to step into their power. Mm-hmm. And so I had a lot of people start to come to me and ask me, how can I start doing what you're doing? Mm-hmm. So I was actually around January of 2019, I officially made the transition to doing business coaching. And the reason why I kept the mindset piece is because I really learned the importance of that in the former work that I was doing as a self-love coach and a life coach, was the importance of having that mindset. Because if you don't do the inner work and really push past those limiting beliefs and those old stories that you have, all of the strategy in business, it won't really make a difference. And those were like the people that I would see that would take action were the ones that had done that inner work. So I made that transition in January of 2019. And I actually just closed out this year. I had a 6-figure year, which was really incredible as my first year as a business coach. But one of my biggest challenges when I transitioned from being a self-love coach to a business coach was I actually thought that I had to change who I was. I thought that I had to kind of abandon my old messaging about self-love and empowerment and, showing up in your power. And I had to be like all of the other business coaches that I was seeing online. So I started to focus a lot more on I can help you make $10,000 months, and I can help you with, all of these things that really weren't what I was really passionate about. And not to say that money isn't important. Obviously, we all need to make an income so that we can make the impact that we desire. But really what I am all about is helping women show up unapologetically as themselves, helping them really own who they are, their uniqueness. And I ended up losing my uniqueness in the process of trying to build my business coaching business. And so it's really interesting because that's exactly the opposite of what I preach and what I teach my clients. But I feel like I had to go through that so that I could really be an example to my clients of how you start to show up as yourself. So that journey for me was really going through and doing a lot of things that I thought I was supposed to do because it was what all of the other coaches were doing. And when I would do that, nothing worked. I would do launches and, surprise, surprise.
Right.
I would launch a program and I would get 2 signups. And I would put all of this work into it. I'm like, why is this not working? And it really wasn't until I had my first retreat, which was in November of this year. And again, I had talked about the retreat was all supposed to be about public speaking. And
Okay.
I put it out there that it was like all of this strategy. You were going to get all of this strategy and, learn how to get paid speaking gigs and all of this stuff. But while it really was about, learning your message and getting clear on what you're here for and your purpose, it was so much deeper than that. It was really doing the inner work that you need to in order to show up as your best self. And we talked about a little bit of strategy, but there wasn't really that much strategy. And everybody walked away from that retreat completely transformed. Like 100% of the people got incredible results that they're still talking about, 2 months later. And it was like, for me at that time, the veil was lifted and I saw really what my purpose was and what I was doing without even I was putting out all of this messaging and somehow I was still living my truth, but who I was marketing myself as was not a match. And this was a huge wake up call for me. And really now that's my focus in my business, is helping women to show up unapologetically as themselves by doing that inner work so that they can attract the abundance that was meant for them. So to somebody who wants to build their brand, I would say the 3 most important things would be, you need to be clear on your ideal client and how you help them. How are you unique? And take, get all of the other coaches who are in your niche, take them out of the picture, focus on you. Because I think a lot of times we can feel like the market is oversaturated,
Right.
and that there's other people who are doing what you're doing. And that is true. There are other people doing what you're doing, but there's nobody who's doing it like you are.
Right.
So it's getting really clear on, who is that person that you want to show up to help?
Right.
What are they struggling with? What are their desires in their life? What would be made possible through them working with you? And how are you so unique? And when you get really clear on that, that will really help you to build a cohesive brand. And then number 2 would be to do the inner work. If we don't do the inner work, if we don't work through our old stories and our limiting beliefs and, that comparison that we all deal with, that imposter syndrome, it's going to be so difficult for you to actually show up and implement the strategy and take the inspired action and do the things that you need to that will actually help you build your business. And number 3, this is not even possible if you don't do number 2. And number 3 is to be consistent. You really have to show up consistently. You have to be consistent in your marketing, in your brand colors, in your imaging. People need to get that sense of what your brand is, and they get that through you being consistent,
Right.
With how you show up, when you show up, the colors that you use, the feel of your brand. All of those things need to be consistent. But again, if you don't do the inner work, if you're not sure of who your ideal client is and how you're unique and how you help them, all of that other stuff won't really matter. So it kind of goes in order in how you should do that.
Right.
And I would say that the inner work is continuous. It's not just one thing that you do and suddenly you're like, oh, okay, I got this. I face imposter syndrome probably every time I'm going after a new goal, or, when I started my retreats, I was like, can I do this? Who am I to do this? Is anybody going to want to, be a part of this? And I had to go through that to actually learn my value and my worth. And I would say that that was also one of the things that I've struggled with the most that I have overcome, is really learning my worth and my value and how to charge my worth. I think that that's something that so many people struggle with, is
Right.
how do I charge my, how do I ask for what I really believe I deserve? So things that I wish I would have done differently. I mean, I kind of talked about that earlier, but I think it really would be to trust my intuition, to trust that I know best what to do for my business. I think so often we're looking to the other gurus and the leaders in our field to tell us what to do. But I really believe that we have so much knowledge and wisdom within us that it's really just trusting. And also listening to your audience, listening to the people around you, and having that be reflected to you. Like that was one of my biggest lessons, like from the retreat, and then also from listening to my clients on how I show up for them and how I have improved their lives. It has really allowed me to see what I do and the power that I have as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would lead to like also not launching programs that I didn't really feel connected with and aligned with,
Mm-hmm.
and doing those things that I did in the beginning of my business because I thought I was supposed to,
Right.
you know, and really just trusting that, you know, you don't have to launch a program just because somebody else is launching
Right.
a program, you know, just because it's that time of year that, you know, or Black Friday, like people doing their Black Friday deals, and you think, oh, I just need to do one just because everybody else is
Right.
doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, trust your intuition, hone in with your audience and really get to know what they want. And don't do things just because you think you're supposed to. So the future for my brand is
Mm-hmm.
really bringing women together to do the inner work so that they can make the biggest impact possible, so that they can go then out and implement the strategy. So I am hosting yearly retreats here in Hawaii. You did say I was from someplace warm. I forgot to mention I'm in Hawaii.
Can I come?
Yes, absolutely. So my next one is actually May 15th through 19th.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also going to be hosting international retreats as well. So my first international retreat this year is going to be in Tahiti. So I'm really excited this is like the evolution of my brand is I really was focused on so much online social media stuff in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And I still get a lot of my clients that way, but I really want to bring those relationships to these in-person mm-hmm. retreats. And like, I'm hosting, I think this year I have 13 live events that I'm hosting.
Wow.
And so I'm really I want to bring people together because I really believe that there's just so much power mm-hmm. when we can come together and we can connect in person. So that's it.
What a great, great journey you've been on.
It's been a ride for sure.
Yeah. So I'm really curious about the whole event thing because in my mind, I think, do people want to pay the money to travel? Do they want to take time away from work and family? Do they want to, like their additional costs, like hotels and food and stuff like that? So from what you're saying, those assumptions are really not true.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, one of the things when I created my retreats is I had been to a lot of other retreats mm-hmm. and had learned like what I liked and what I didn't like. And like you said, there's a lot of things. One of the retreats that I went to, you know, of course we had to pay our airfare, but we also had to, you know, get transportation to the retreat mm-hmm. center, which was like 2 hours away from the airport.
Wow.
You know, so we had to pay for our transportation. Also, the meal, not all of the meals were included. And so there were a lot of additional expenses. And I'm like, mm-hmm. this is what, this would definitely be a barrier for people to want to come if there's all of these additional expenses.
Yeah.
So I really try to create it in a way that it's so inclusive. Like mm-hmm. you basically, all you're having to do is pay for your airfare. And then everything else is provided for you. So I think when that happens, it allows you to really show up and not be mm-hmm. stressed out about all of these other things.
Right.
And in terms of like taking time off from, you know, work and family, I really believe that if you're wanting clarity and you're wanting some transformation in your life, you have to remove yourself from your day-to-day hustle and grind. And, you know, mm-hmm. I believe that clarity requires clarity. Like we have to clear that space mm-hmm. in order to really be able to connect with our intuition, to be able to connect with our highest self mm-hmm. and to be guided through that. I think it's so hard when we're just going through our normal day-to-day lives to really be able, you know, unless you have like a meditation practice and those things that I think are really important. But even then, it can still, we feel all of this pressure coming from the outside, that I really think that that's why it's so transformational to be able to go to these types of events. And even if you can't go to like a full retreat, there's also like, single day events, like you can go to women's circles, like just being around other people, I really believe brings a lot of insight and clarity that we can't get on our own.
Right, right. And there's something about being in person that, while you and I are talking here on Zoom, and that's great, and I'm having a great time, and I hope you are.
Yes.
It would be so much better if I were like sitting with you on the deck, right?
Yes.
In person. That would be so awesome. So, do you not do courses?
I do courses. I
Okay.
do. I don't do one-on-one coaching anymore.
Okay.
That's one of the biggest transitions in my business was I let go of one-on-one coaching because I wanted to be able to focus on some of these other things like my retreats and my podcast. And I have a mastermind, which is women who are, soulful women who really want to do the inner work so that they can show up and make the impact in the world. So they're leaders in their industries. They're people who are already making an impact, but want to do it on a bigger scale. So I really help them to scale their impact by doing that inner work that we have to do in order to show up as our biggest, most fullest expression of ourselves.
Right. So it sounds to me, Randi, like you are very focused on the things that work.
Yes.
The things that build your business, not only build your business and make money for you, but actually work and produce results for your clients.
Yes, absolutely. And, that came with a lot of trial and error and seeing like what I enjoy doing in my business and what was working in my business and what wasn't. And I had to let go of a lot of things. Even though my clients in one-on-one coaching were getting results, I was teaching a lot of my clients the same thing.
Right.
And I was like, it really was draining my energy to be like, oh my gosh, I just taught, Susie this, and now I'm teaching, Amy that same thing versus, okay, let's bring them all together.
Right.
And then we can also feed off the energy of one another and support one another. And so I just really love the dynamic of group programs. And when I made that transition, it was like they were able to still get the same results. And I enjoyed showing up and doing that type of work. So I think it's like really finding like, what do you love to do? What brings you the most joy? And that also like gets you results in your business. But I think those two often are the same because like when you're excited to show up, you're going to get your clients so much better results than when you're unexcited to show up and you're dreading it. Right? Yeah.
Right. So just a technical question for you because you are in Hawaii. Do you do your mastermind on Zoom?
I do.
Okay. And then all of your retreats are in person somewhere. Like they've been in Hawaii. Now the international one will be in Tahiti.
Yes. So I'm going to continue to have at least one a year here in Hawaii. And then I want to have one that rotates different locations internationally. So I also travel quite often myself. So this year I have trips planned to New York, all around California, Las Vegas. And so I usually connect with my clients as well when I'm traveling. So I have clients, internationally as well, but I have a lot of clients that live in California, that live in New York. So I am lucky that I get to travel and I get to meet with them in person, not just at my retreats, but on a more regular basis.
Right. Well, I'm not sure, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I think maybe you're living a 9.9 life.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty amazing. And, it's really like, I feel very grateful because just a year ago, I was dreaming to be where I am right now. I actually only left my corporate job in February of this year. The previous year,
Right.
2019. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's already a new year. It's crazy.
Right.
But yeah, in February, so it's almost been a year since I left my corporate job. And I'm just so grateful to be where I am today, because a year ago, I was dreaming to be in this place.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping and praying that my business would be successful. And like I said before, I had to go through a lot of tests and trials and challenges to really
Mm-hmm.
get to this place. But I really believe that everything that happened was happening for me in order for me to get to this place where, now I can be traveling the world and I can be hosting these retreats here and be making the impact that I really, have always dreamed of.
Yeah. Well, what a great story. I think I could ask you a ton of questions, but our time is up. And so how can people reach you? What is the best way to connect?
Absolutely. So you can go to my website, which is randilee.net. And on there, you can find my social media. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. You can also find links to my podcast, the Uplifting Podcast. I also have a free guide on there, but I would also like to, a guide that I don't have on there that I would love to gift to you all is a guided meditation that will help you to feel empowered in your pricing of your products and your services. That's definitely something
wait. Say that again.
Yeah, it's a guided
pricing of your products?
Yes.
Guided meditation?
Yes. So it's going to help you to really connect. Yeah, it's going to help you connect with your worth and really help you to feel empowered in how you price your programs and your services, because that's something that I really struggled with for such a long time.
Everybody
to really
does.
own my worth, to ask for my worth, to be unapologetic about it.
Mm-hmm.
And this guided meditation will really help you to connect with that. So I would love to gift that to you all. I will give you the link. Kay, is that okay?
Yeah, if you can email that to me and then we'll put it on the screen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome.
That is so cool. I've never heard of that before.
Yes, I hope I would love for you to try it and let me know what you think.
Right. I will let you know.
Awesome.
Okay, Randi, I will let you get back to all that beautiful stuff that you're doing. And
yes,
to my
thank you so much.
You bet. To my friends who are listening and watching the podcast and the YouTube video, it's been a pleasure to have Randi Lee here with us. I'm Kay Wagner with North Star Marketing, and we will see you soon, and that's a wrap.
You just heard another great formula for brand success. What's your secret sauce or magic formula? Post your story on our Facebook page called Brand Buzz. Then come back soon for the next brand success story that's cooking up right now.